We got lucky last week, freakishly lucky. Notwithstanding those who were seriously injured, the Parsons Green bomb was poorly made, failed to fully detonate, and when it did start to burn, the London Underground train wasn't in the darkness of a tunnel, but above ground, at a station, and with the doors open. We can't count on a slice of luck as sizable as that again. Rather, we need action, and there's been precious little of that as regards technology giants showing responsibility about material available online. After the London Bridge terror attack, Theresa May told firms such as Google and YouTube, quotes, "Enough is enough." Since then, nothing. Until last night, when the Prime Minister said these rather bland and familiar words at the UN.
We must also step up our efforts as never before to tackle the terrorist use of the internet. The tech companies have made significant progress on this issue, but we need to go further and faster to reduce the time it takes to remove terrorist content online and to increase significantly their efforts to stop it being uploaded in the first place. This is a major step in reclaiming the internet from those who would use it to do us harm.
Now, the German Parliament has already passed a law meaning social media companies could be fined €50 million if they don't remove offensive material, including instructions and propaganda. In Ireland, they have a digital monitoring organisation already set up. So, to employ your own words, Prime Minister, enough is enough. Let's get this sorted before we have to ride our luck again.
I completely agree with you, and it's a big source of frustration to me that these organisations, they've changed our society in the way that we live and communicate in such a broad way, but when it comes to taking responsibility and being accountable, they seem to be less keen to be forthcoming. There's a big conversation with these companies around, are they platforms or are they publishers? Now, these guys would argue, well, I'm a platform, I'm therefore not responsible for the content which sits within me. I would argue that actually you are bordering on publishing. You might not create that content, but you're hosting it and should have a responsibility for that. I would like to see these companies way more proactively stopping accounts. So I don't think it should just be the responsibility of a user to flag this as offensive content. I think they should be developing algorithms that stop this stuff going up in the first place. I wouldn't be going as far as like a country like China, for example, who censored various companies like Twitter, Facebook, Google. They just blocked them all. I wouldn't advocate going that far, but I think it is basic common sense that, for example, I think it was Channel 4 did some research into various things, and Amazon, when you was buying a particular chemical, it flagged up, its algorithm was flagging up saying customers that bought this also bought. And the list that they were showing was steel ball bearings, switches, cabling. Now, I'm sorry, but that is fundamentally wrong. There's only one reason you're buying that stuff, and you shouldn't be doing it.
And just to say, Amazon said as a result of that, all products must adhere to their selling guidelines and all UK laws. They also say they will work closely with police and law enforcement agencies should they need to assist investigations. Karen, let's talk a little bit about corporate responsibility. You're a hugely successful businessman, obviously not in the area of Google or anything like this. These firms have a moral duty, don't they? Their staff are riding the tubes, their kids are riding the trains.
So this is where, when we say whose responsibility is this, this is the responsibility of both government and the companies involved. And the internet has, if you just think about it, it's barely not even 2 decades since the internet has existed, let alone Facebook is just over a decade old, and it's changed the world. And we're having trouble keeping up with it. And then you have these companies that are making enormous profits now. Earlier you say, oh, internet companies never make a profit. Now these companies are making massive profits. Then they don't pay much taxes in certain countries, which is wrong. Okay, they create employment. The government can have a role by regulating this in such a strong way that the fines are so strong, okay, you may not pay your taxes over here, you step out of line over here, we're going to fine you, and we're going to fine you big time because it's your responsibility to do this. WhatsApp turns around and says, and I love WhatsApp, I use it all the time, a lot of us use it, but it's encrypted. And WhatsApp say, we can't even access it for you if we want to because it's encrypted. I'm sorry. And these things that are going up online, there are 26,000 of them just over the past few months. They stay up for an average of 36 hours. And within 2 hours, it's spread around the world. and people are doing awful things as a result. So, sorry, it's not good enough. They've got to come down on it.
The industry you and I were in, if a newspaper published, if Sky News suddenly did a special on how to make a bomb.
Can you imagine? You know, I was really disappointed with that speech from her, because she has said enough is enough many times before. And the words that she used re legislation, she said the government would consider bringing it. That's not good enough. When you consider that 3/4 of all Islamist-related offences are committed by people who have accessed material or instructions online, when you consider that more jihadi content is accessed in Britain than in any other country in the world, why are we faffing around? You know, and how can this government say it's doing everything it can to fight terrorism when its biggest aid is carrying on unchecked? You know, Google and Amazon, actually it was YouTube recently admitted that they profited from ads that ran alongside ISIS videos. Why aren't we clamping down on that?
Britain is one of the top 5 countries in the world where this is all
European capital.
Yeah, it was the European capital.
Well, I completely agree with you, Nick.
Wow, I've got a chord. It's the first time ever. Karen, come more often.
I think that these companies have a moral duty, not just in terms of terrorist content, but trolling, fake news. They are publishers, whether they like it or not, and they're making money out of this content. Anyway, we always have to give a right to reply, so here's what the General Counsel for Google had to say. This is Kent Walker, and he said, machine learning has improved, but we are not all the way there yet. We need people and we need feedback from trusted government sources and from our users to identify and remove some of the most problematic content out there.
I love that.
I feel really strongly about that.
So that would mean if Sky News, it's down to the viewers to actually say don't put bomb-making
I feel
programmes
really
up.
strongly about that quote, and I think it is so bad. Yeah, he should be embarrassed about saying that, because basically what he's saying is their strategy is we will publish everything, and then if you can flag us as something that's wrong, and we do it that way because, you know, we'd hate to make a mistake and actually accidentally block a thing. They should completely be going the other way. They should have algorithms, and this is not difficult. In fact, I would argue it's relatively easy.
They've got one for child abuse.
2013.
And they need they've got to be, as I said earlier, more proactive. And it's not just algorithms. They need to employ more people. And they can afford to employ the more people. Thousands more people.
Look how much these companies are worth. Google, I checked this morning, $400 billion. Facebook, $500 billion. Alphabet, YouTube is part of it, $670 billion.
They can afford to hire these people.
One of the bosses of those pays himself $150 million a year. He's just behind him. He should be just behind Karen.
If only.
He should be employing more staff.
The bottom line is that they created the problem. They have to solve it. It's their problem.
But back to what you were saying, Karen, this is up to government to be tough, and Theresa May is
she's whistling about.
There is an argument, though, about which government, because I very briefly read an article, and I think it was a case in France or something, where they was trying to levy a fine onto Twitter, but was struggling with the jurisdiction because Twitter didn't have offices there or employees there.
This is where, unfortunately, as we're leaving the EU, we won't benefit from this. But this is where the EU actually can come together, and they have been. They've been going after them in terms of unfair practices in search engines. So they have been.